Hosting?
No, I'm not. Adam is
setup?
hosting. So we
Okay.
got Gwen hopping in as well. So hi, Gwen. Good morning. So no, I'm not hosting.
It is okay. I am sort of double booking myself. I'm at the office hours at UNM Innovations.
Oh yeah, with
So-
Stacy Taco.
Yeah, so I figured I'd check
Okay.
that out for a few minutes. Good morning.
Good morning. So, what's your?
Sort of double booking myself. I'm at the office hours at UNM Innovations.
Oh, great
Oh,
to
I
hear.
hear we're streaming. We're Good morning.
That's what happened. The live YouTube was started playing. Did you guys hear all that?
I've heard part of it. Not all
Okay.
of it.
We're in stereo.
It was a lot of overlap. It was crazy. Well, good morning and welcome to Adam's Friday Flow. I'll get going here, Eric, and then we'll talk a little more about what's going on there. And I've got construction that we're creating here in my space. That's why I stepped away. This meeting is being live streamed. Got it. Okay. So, welcome to Adam's Friday Flow. Here's the general guidelines. Most of you guys know it, but I can do this live on YouTube. It's at Adam's Friday Flow with entrepreneurs. And then I've got engaged challenges, attend at a whim, connect your business with the topic. And I just use this stuff to kind of keep myself in line so I know what I'm going next. I'm going to give the intro, attendee greeting, who and does what, post on chat for order. So again, post your information on the chat and that's great. So Eric's put on there, I'll be back in a few. And I'm like, so does that mean he goes first when he gets back? Or anyway, so you guys go and post your information on chat so that we'll have that down. And then open discussion loosely on the topic. And then there'll be a action ask at the end. Welcome to Adam's Friday Flow with entrepreneurs. We have a few folks with us today, and Eric will be coming back in a little moment, he said. This is not the question. Somehow I forgot to put the right question in here. Wonder what happened. I'm going to check something. This is what's going on next week. Nope. Double check here. August 20th. Okay. Well, basically, Saturday outcomes. That's next week. Anyway, we're talking about deep flow, and I don't remember what the question was, but deep work. And with the deep work, we've got, one of the things we can think about is how we actually do that, like how we get deep work happening. And the topic was efficacy in chaos. So with all the things going on around us, how this happens. And I'm reading Carl Newport's book, Deep Work. But before we get more into that, let's introduce those that are here. And then for those that might come back in a bit. So great, we've got somebody who's already posted on here. And Gwen, if you want to talk up, go ahead and post your chat to say hi or something. And so Annie, you're faster, so we're gonna go ahead and do that.
Gotta love copy and paste.
Oh, I've got Facebook. You've got Facebook, you've got LinkedIn, and then you've got biggerpockets.com.
Those are all my social media.
Wow. Then, here it is. I don't know what the Bigger Pockets one is. Maybe I'll look into that in just a moment.
It's real estate.
But,
The Bigger Pockets, it's a bunch of real estate. It's kind of like tools, networking. It's real estate related. So I do all things real estate.
Bigger Pockets, boy.
Right, so Bigger Pockets is a great resource for real estate.
Well, go ahead and tell us about this fancy drawing here. With what are these mountains in the background?
That is actually the actual landscape, if you will, where we are going to build the 30 acres. That's a rendering.
So I'm putting you on the spot. Do you know the name of these mountains?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Sorry, but it's in Valencia County. But
let's find that out. Valencia County.
It's off of. I mean, I have the what do you call it? The map topography, or what is it called? The GPS, I guess.
Yeah. So if we are right here in Valencia County, let me see if I've given you the option to be able to draw on here. That'd be cool. Let's pull this out. This will be exciting. I might enjoying this. Okay, so security. They can share screen, rename themselves, participants. Participants. Oh, that's not what I want. Security. Chat, rename themselves, unmute themselves, start video, annotate on shared contact. So
There's no address. The 30 acres does not have an address because it's not populated.
so is it right here?
It's the only thing I can tell you is it's on Dally's Road. Let me see here. Hold on. It's east of I-25, I-6 and I-25. That's the closest you can get to it,
Oh, so it's over here.
right? So it's actually south of Highway 6 or local Highway 6. I guess that's a
Highway 6. This is 47.
right. It's right around there. 47, Highway 6. I'm trying to give you
Okay.
a second. Hold on. See if I can give you more.
So I'm thinking,
It's hard to pinpoint. Dolly's is, let me spell the street that I can give you.
then that might be the Sandias in the background.
I think it may be too far south because the location is south of the airport by about, I want to say maybe 10 miles. So
Okay. So it might be more up here.
it's
This area
more
here.
just south of I-6, east of
I don't know where I6
I-25.
is. Let's look.
It's Los Lunas, right? So you see I-6 there, right around there, and just south of that. So if you circle 6, that's as close as you're gonna get because that's not
Oh,
yet.
6 here.
Yeah,
Oh, you said it was east of I-25 though.
well, isn't that east?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's east of I-25 because
Okay.
the river is
So
west,
here's 6. It goes over here.
right?
All right. I'm gonna clear all this. I'm gonna clear all drawings. Okay. Then I'm gonna close the annotate so I can zoom back in. And I've got my eye on 6.
That's as
There's
close as you can
6.
get without, because there's no streets out there yet. They're still building the interstate bypass off of Highway 47 and I-25.
Okay. But in if this view then is facing east, then these are the Sandias or the Manzanos.
Right, or right. I guess,
Okay.
I mean, because the only mountains I know here is Sandia. That's
Okay.
about it.
Manzanos are down there. I'm just curious because I'm seeing these mountains. I'm like, and I had altered. I thought this was looking west. So I'm
No.
guessing this must be looking east.
Yeah. It's east.
Okay. There you are. So you're creating this thingy thing and you've been working on that?
Right, yeah, that's the community rendering. I just had a meeting with Valencia County this week. So there's been a lot of activities as we await our 1.5 million funding, which we will know next month in September.
Great. That's cool. Okay. Anyone else post on here? I think, oh, there's 3 new messages. Look at that. Okay, so we've got, I wrote, okay. So Mr. Eric, since you beat me to it, you get to talk next. Would you introduce yourself?
I will, let's see. Oh, I hate doing these selfie things from a car or whatever. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're doing great.
Yeah, you're doing
Excellent,
great.
excellent. So
Don't worry.
what am I supposed to be saying? What am I joining us with today?
You're just doing that. They were just doing the introduction right now, and we're
Oh.
talk. So like what you are, who you are, what you're up to. You could even talk about
Eric
what
Rins Whitmore. I'm I'm an economic development person working primarily around community and ecosystem building. What am I working on right now? I'm working on Global Entrepreneurship Week for the Albuquerque area and a few other projects to help communities bring their entrepreneurs together.
Entrepreneurship Week.
Oh boy. Yeah, our page won't be live
Yeah.
until beginning of September, which is coming up soon now.
Oh,
But
September.
you'll find stuff on Global Entrepreneurship Week if you search for it.
There we are. I got Global Entrepreneurship Network. Welcome.
Yep, they are
Global
the
Entrepreneurship-
owners of it, kind of.
Wow.
Yep, that's a good one.
And so they're doing all this stuff. So what are you doing with that?
Well, so let's see. So basically what Global Entrepreneurship Week is, the way it works is that communities, states and communities, or well, states in the US, but communities around the world get together for a week in November to promote and celebrate entrepreneurs and the ways that we as communities can help them. So in Albuquerque, we'll have some ways to showcase a few entrepreneurs and startups but all kinds of entrepreneurs, not just startups. And then the communities that help. And it's also a nice way to bring the community together. So that's what we're working on. November 8th through the 14th officially.
I was just going to ask you the date. Thank you for saying the date, Eric. So is it 11/8 until the 14th?
Yeah, there'll be some activities that start as soon as maybe the 4th or 5th of November.
So do you know if you are mentioned on here? Jen
I
Mender-
am not. I actually I had some trouble with my login, so I haven't even updated my photo or profile and stuff like that. But my goal is to have a lot of that first round of content done by the end of this month.
Is Albuquerque listed on here?
Let's see. I don't think we have. So I think that relates to events, and I don't think we've posted any official events yet.
Oh, so but that'll be coming.
So it's
United.
from
Yeah.
the 8th until the 14th of November is the dates?
That's correct. Those are the official dates.
Okay,
What we sometimes have is everybody kind of wants to be first. So there's at least one or two events that'll happen over the weekend before that. And then I saw, there's some other folks that I'm trying to rope in who've got an event, I want to say on the 4th and 5th.
Wow.
4th and 5th, okay. You know, that interferes with my tango festival. Come on now, Eric.
Well, there's got to be an entrepreneurial aspect to that, right? Or, can we encourage entrepreneurs? Is there like a special entrepreneur discount for your tango festival?
I don't know. What? Let me ask. Because that's a
Yeah, there
very,
could be, right?
yeah, it's very highly, I'm volunteering that weekend so that I can get a free pass.
Oh, nice. Yeah, well, and I shut me up when you want to, Adam.
Oh, you're doing
But
fine.
one of the things we've talked about for other kinds of events and activities like this is, is there an opportunity to do some running or some cycling or a
Yeah,
hike
I'm into
or
biking.
Zumba, whatever it is? They're,
Right.
entrepreneurs don't just do their businesses. They're actual real people with full lives. How do we engage them across that spectrum to connect with people that they might find enjoyable to spend time with?
Right. I'll ask my the facilitator of the volunteer group for that event. And I'll
'Cause,
ask
yeah,
them if there's
we'll
an
promote them
opportunity.
a little bit. Oh, I see that there are events there. I got to get at least one event on the list, so it doesn't look so naked in New Mexico.
Well, it looks like that's Arizona. I see. New Mexico what is this one?
I think that's Lubbock,
Amarillo.
Amarillo.
Okay. Amarillo. And this one is too long to see where it's from, but Arizona, definitely.
Pioneer Pitch in Arizona.
Oh,
That
that's
looks like Northern Arizona University.
okay.
Just my
Yeah.
guess.
No, that's
That
good.
looks like I-40 over there.
That's funny. Well, we're connected to them then. That's cool.
Hey,
Wyoming.
it looks like it's a good time.
Yeah, something's happening out there.
Well, there's
There's
also, I want to say, no, I forget when Dia de los Muertos is. Maybe it's the weekend before that, but they've got a big pitch going on in El Paso.
Oh,
Well,
Dia de los Startups or something.
yeah, keep my
Dude.
company in mind if you need entrepreneurs at this event, since we're just a startup right now.
We're always looking for entrepreneurs and ways to, like, for instance, okay, and then I'll shut up. I will start drinking coffee or put my mask back on. But
You're-
for
this is the-
instance,
this is the conversation. You're doing just fine.
I feel like I'm pitching too much. But one of the things we can do is like, is
I haven't-
there?
I haven't heard
do
about
you
it.
want-
I'm curious.
Adam, do you want to do a special Global Entrepreneurship Week edition of Adam's Friday Flow?
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
Like, and I like that it's online, but do you want to meet in the coffee shop to do that, or just do it online like usual? Whatever.
Sure, I'm flexible.
Yeah, so we just have to kind of throw a little brand on it, mention that it's Global Entrepreneurship Week, and put it on the calendar.
Cool. Yeah.
Easy
Yeah,
peasy.
Well, that's kind of a cool. So you're out there looking for events and stuff. You got some scrabbled together, but you're still building it up.
Exactly. And we'll
As-
probably have
as-
like,
As an entrepreneur, as an entrepreneur will.
yeah, and a lot of it's like stone soup,
Yeah.
So this person has a venue and this person has a topic, but they have a new book coming out or wherever the heck it is, and then can we put them in front of an audience and have a great conversation or provide some tools that somebody needs?
Yeah, that's cool. With Friday Flow or Flow Forum, as I'm trying to change it because I might change the day it's happening on.
Okay.
The feeling that out because I'm about to have my website already too, which means I should probably put my contact information on here, like I've encouraged anyone else to do. But in let's see here now. This is how I get myself all put together. Open slides, open. This is the one I want. Okay, so this is my background stuff here. This is my.
So this is in Google Keep?
Yeah. So I don't
Nice.
know if this is the most smooth system, but it was the one available at the time, and so that's what I did. So I'll copy this, and I'll paste that over here in my chat.
Oh, nice.
And then so this is one of this is my websites, the one that's actually developing here. And the reason this is important, once my website is developed, because that taking like extra mind, I might come back to 1 Million Cups too. That's kind of my plan, was I was gonna put it off until my website was done. And this is not it. This is just a temporary website from Google. Let's see, Google
Looks pretty sweet.
business. Yeah. So and this middle part doesn't quite show what I do. Like I can label stuff and make it look pretty, but my big thing is trying to make it so that you can do these things you want to get done, and to make tools and stuff happen. So
Nice.
and hopefully
Boy.
the new website, and I could give you, yeah.
It's reminding
What if
me
I
of,
have,
and I forget if I don't know if it's a current like web thing. There was another like local startup that was doing it was really like very tile based. So and it reminds me of like, what is it? It's Microsoft Surface or something, where you go to the site and all these different sort of tiles, kind of, those are the things that rather than doing a lot of linky stuff, it's like, oh, I want tools, or, oh,
Yeah.
I want this. Yeah. I don't know. I always
I think I
appreciated
might know
that
what you're
design.
talking about. Yeah, that might be something I've got going on. Gwen, would you like to introduce yourself while I'm looking up my new website prototype?
Gwen, you're still on mute.
Okay, from California. Gwen, I'm a executive assistant right now, but that's not really my aspiration.
It's a powerful job of executive assisting.
Yes.
Up to that point, what is your aspiration, if you don't mind my asking?
Something in social enterprise, sustainable business, especially like worker cooperatives, where the workers are sharing in the profit and the liability and the everyday decision making. So I do kind of all kinds of more of projects where it's like repurposing excess resources, whether it's food or physical products or even digital open source technology. One project is
Cool.
bringing free Wi-Fi to low-income communities, so that when there's a natural emergency disaster, they can communicate on a local level.
Yeah, I think I've heard about that, especially in underserved network locations. Are you building it up now, or are you building it up for emergencies, or both? Of course, both. If you're the first.
Yeah. Well, it's mostly on people's well, whoever has excess broadband capacity, and we just have like a antenna on the roof and just extended.
Cool. And so different people will just get those set up in their homes and to be part of the network.
Yes. Yes.
That's cool. Thanks, Gwen. And you're thinking about moving to Albuquerque. Or have you let go of that and said, okay, actually, where I am now, I've got great connections?
I don't know right now.
Okay. Well, we'll talk a little bit more about deep work and see if that might help you make some decisions here in a moment. But here's the website I've got going so you can see the rough. I'm going to probably change this out, so I've got my classic hat on. But and there's a few stuff here that hasn't been put in that I expect. Oh, but these, Eric, are tiles for different. So I'm not too sure if this is what you're talking about. Was this kind of what you're thinking? You might be
Trying to unmute yourself. Yeah.
So that.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, and in fact, that's even more tiley than I was originally thinking. But that's cool.
That's great. There's the general idea there, and of course, now this, when I get my scheduling app put together, we'll probably say schedule something instead, because you're gonna call me and I'll be with someone or something like that, and so you're just gonna. But yeah, so this little in the process, she had my designer had put in these flippy tiles here, and I'm collaborating with someone from the area, Janice Skidmore. She's my marketing person, and I know a web designer from from the organizing networks up in Canada. So the designer of the website is one person, and the content is from another person. So the designer put these in here. And we realized, actually my wife did, she pointed out, she's like, actually it'd be great if you had like something here that you could go right to that thing. Because otherwise you got to go down here and start over. But if you're like, I want to do virtual organizing, you just click right there. And it's going to take you to the same place, but you feel like you're heading the right way. It's like, this is what I'm interested in. I want to go look at this, or to book me there. So that's kind of the setup. I thought that was a pretty clever setup there. And then there's these weird things like my method, which I don't quite get. I mean, I get this sort of, but this is my marketing person, and so I'm rolling with it. And as far as apparently it opens SEO, and that good stuff. But all that. So this is kind of a nice lead into talk about what my big topic for today is, which is how to deal with all the chaos, efficacy in chaos. And I took that because when I looked up the book that I'm focusing on, it's called Deep Work by Cal Newport. You guys could show of hands, how many have actually heard of that book?
I have not.
Okay. I guess no one else has. So Deep Work. Okay. So that the next question is moot. Who's read the book? I've read the book. Here, I'll look it up here on my screen. So I'll go back to this guy here. And Cal Newport, Deep Work. So this book, his big thesis is that, the thumbs up means you like the idea of looking it up or that you've read it.
Hey, just real quick, I'm gonna be on the road, so just listening in. But a couple of the kind of
Yeah.
productivity, make it happen people that I listen to are big fans. So I've heard about the book. And maybe some of the lessons. Ollie, what's his last name? But anyway, so I'm really interested in this book. I've heard a lot of good things, so I'm interested to hear your take.
Oh, great. Yeah, so this is the book. Let's see if I can find a page for it, actually. Cal Newport, Deep Work, Rules for Focus. Okay, so this is Cal Newport. His book is Deep Work, and I've been listening to it. It's great because it also focuses, he highlights one of my heroes, which is Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, or Halle, depending on how you say it. But he, who is a neuroscientist who started the book Flow, which I've mentioned before, which is the idea, the psychological state of being like optimally involved in what you're doing. And so in order to get to that location, Cal says you have to do deep work, and there's deep work and there's shallow work. And so what he's saying is that often we have all these tools in our world that encourage us to have shallow work, email, texting, internet in general, just like all this information jumping around and never actually sticking with something and getting deep into stuff. But he's saying his thesis in this, and when was this written? Amazon Best Business Book of January 2016. So that was written about 7 years ago. But the idea is that you get into this space of deep thinking, which really makes you more of an effective person. And especially in the business world, you create more results. And with the changing world where automatization, that's the right word, right? Automatization. What?
Automation, I think is what you're trying to say.
I think that's better. It has even less letters in it. So in the automated world that we're getting into, the theory is that a lot of jobs will be eliminated, but that doesn't mean all jobs will be eliminated. And what'll be is like there's things that we'll be able to do that we're going to be more potent and capable of getting a job if we're able to get ourselves into deep work. So this space where we're in flow, which is like really engaged in what we're thinking about and working on. And it won't work if we continue distracting ourselves with all this stuff going on around the world. And so one of the things I like to point out is right away, he has in chapter 2 or something, he makes a comment of like, there's some people this is important for and there's some people it's not. And you kind of decide whether it's for you or not. Especially if you're involved in information work. Like Annie, you are a program manager, project manager.
Yes.
You're a project manager. Gwen, things similar to that. And Eric, you're all about like connecting people. So I think for Gwen and Annie, this might be very helpful. But then again, Gwen might be more in the spot with Eric. And so I'll tell you what this going on here is. He kind of gives this caveat of like, this is really good for people who are going to like do, like if you're trying to write books or you're trying to write code or you're trying to create, design a company or something like that, all these things, it demands a lot of like kind of getting in the mode and getting a lot of mechanics in your head into place so that you can think deeply about that and like create something. Because if you keep getting interrupted, you're not going to be able to keep a flow of what you're going on, what you're trying to create, and you won't produce very well. But an example he gave is like there was a CEO, and he names the person in there. I don't remember what he was, who created 2 businesses that were kind of startups at one point, of course. But then he continues to get himself into a place where he's constantly interrupted. And he encourages his employees to come interrupt him and talk to him about things. And he said, so that's one example because he's a CEO, and because of his job and his connection to all these different things, he already has deep, it's not exactly shallow work because everything he's doing is important. And that's what shallow work is. It's not particularly important and it's continually interrupted. Whereas deep work is not interrupted and very important work. So like a CEO still is doing very important work and highly valued by people because he's a CEO and he's getting paid all kinds of great stuff and the company's being successful. He says that's one exception. Another one would be like a lobbyist or someone who's like, their work is focused on connecting with other people. He said, so those are two exceptions that may be like, not actually getting as much out of this book as many people would. But he said, don't be very quick to write yourself off, because then he also gives examples of how a lot of companies that, would think, oh, I just need my people to be connected. They've started doing things like Scrum. You know Scrum, right, Annie?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so they batch the information that you're connecting with, so you're not being hopefully being interrupted all the time with people trying to communicate with you while you're in a chunk, but there's a time for you to actually connect and communicate within the business. And then he gives other examples of like people who give like there was one company gave a whole month for deep work, like no outside contact, nothing to do with the business, all that, but you're doing something kind of like Google's. And Google has a thing where they give you once a day, once a month or once a week or whatever to work on a side project. Well, this other company did it for a whole month and amazing results came from that. All right, so those are like a lot of information that's in there. And so it may not apply to you, but he's really cautious to let you off the hook and say, no, it doesn't apply to me because I do this and this. Because he said there's all these cool things that can happen when you do the deep work, that you're able to really get into it and mess with it. So you're avoiding all these other contacts like emails and Facebook, of course, and Twitter and all that. So you can do what you do. And the big key is also focusing on what is actually important to you. So the hard thing is we have a lot of metrics that we are measuring, and there's easy ones: time, money, and maybe some other stuff, but really industrial kind of things, right? This is industrial area sort of thinking. But if we're in an information age, there's other things that can crank out time and money, if there's no deep thinking or changing going on. And so figuring out what your metric is in your business, and this is huge for me because with my wife and I, talking about what I'm actually doing with my business is kind of tough because, we'd like to pay off student debt, which we're actually pretty much hammering down. We've been doing a great job of that. So this isn't a sob story. So taking care of that, and then also making sure we have a home and a car and all this other good stuff. And I realized, like, yes, those are important, but they're also like the bare minimum. That's not something to aim for. That's not something to really like. You want that metric, but you don't want that to be your guiding metric. You want to figure out what it is you're actually measuring and figure out how you do that. And that makes me think of Patrick Lencioni in his team building stuff.
The 5 dysfunctions of a team.
Yeah.
So what you're talking about, yeah. Yeah,
and he talks about a scoreboard, and so you can put things on there. But as a company or as myself with a family, communicating with my wife, what is it that I'm constantly focusing on? And this brings me back to something I'm often talking about too, which is the juicy desired outcomes. So I'm going to change back to my other slide, and we're going to get into some notes. So depending on how we think about what your job is and what you're trying to after, and also depending on your brain type, like if you are the type of person, if your brain is one that will constantly easily focus on the future, easily focus on the present, or easily focus on the past, you might need to push more to focus on your juicy desired outcome. And in any case, you definitely want to narrow it down and figure out what that is. So a juicy desired outcome is different than a juicy desired objective. Like that's not even a thing really. An objective is just actions that you can do. Outcome is like the experience you want to have, something that going to have numerous pathways to get there. And so you can use objective to sort of like get somewhere, like think about it, step towards that direction. But then you have to stop and reflect, okay, did these objectives that I am or am not achieving get me to closer to that desired outcome, or has my desired outcome even changed? Now that I'm here, do I see something different? I want to get to there. But the great thing about this is that, as Newport points out, is then you can schedule your day, your week, or month, or year, to really kind of have these chunks of time. And if you're concerned about creativity, he talks about that too, of how most people, they're waiting for serendipity, but what's actually happening is they're just getting shoved around by social media or any other interruptions that are constantly going on in your world. As opposed to if you have a structure of like, this is what I'm going to do at this time, this time, this time, you can still be open to serendipity. You can still change it, but you're pushing yourself in some direction, and you'll be surprised about what the results are that you come out, is what he says. You're like, oh, this is great. All right, so that was a lot. That's more than I usually talk, but it's pretty exciting to me, and I'm glad I got to do that. So, Annie, what did you take away from that?
Well, here's my takeaway, right? Yes, I agree that we can get distracted. Fortunately for me, I've had the privilege, if you will, and the ability to be able to focus when I need to. And sometimes, because I was a software developer, programmer, I analyze a lot. Those are some of my greatest strengths as far as skill sets. And I've been doing that for most of my career, like 40 years. So, I spent 3 weeks focusing on doing reverse engineering software code.
Yeah.
And at the end of the 3 weeks, I didn't get anybody's help, but I did it, right? And Accenture actually came to me and said, how did you do that? I said, this is what I was asking for from you that you couldn't provide for me. So I had to sit here and reverse engineer the code that I told you, give me an overview that you could have spent 8 hours or 4 hours, and it's done. I said, I created this flow chart from a reverse engineering code. I said, nobody else was helping me. So I was so focused that I was able to do that. So that's one take, right? And to your point of efficacy in chaos, sometimes chaos is necessary in order to assimilate information. And then it's up to the individual to apply that information. There's a certain level of complexity, and especially in what I'm doing. I mean, where we started out is not where it's not where we are evolving, or not where we are ending up. So the goals are the same, or the big objective is still the same, and that is, eco real estate development that's eco-conscious. That remains the same, but the pieces inside of that will shift and change, and that's the efficacy in chaos. You can find effectiveness in that chaos, but you have to assimilate all of that. And you have to, for lack of better terminology, you have to sometimes pull in the information from other distractions in order to filter it out. And I think it's really hard to coach or teach somebody that skill set, because sometimes I think it's either the person is wired that way or they're not, or somewhere in between, or they need help in developing that skill. Not everybody has that natural inclination.
I know I want to come back. I'm going to come back to that, but Eric, do you have any? Oh, you're listening. I was going to call him in, but he's just. Gwen, do you have any feedback on all of this? Did that make sense? The deep work thing, is that something that you feel like you're lacking? The deep work.
Virtual assistants are affordable. To delegate some of the tasks to them, because we can't do all the work because we're small businesses and don't have the money to really afford to hire people, full-time people to help us. So that's the first line of defense for me is have virtual assistants to help offload some of the tasks.
Yeah, it's called the shallow work. Yeah, the different shallow work tasks. That's good. Thank you, Eric. You're available actually.
Yeah, I just I'm hanging out in my driveway. Yeah, I respond to a lot of this. I'm not sure if it's question. I think
It's
let's
choppy.
see. Yeah, it's I'll say it's close to a lot of the thinking and work that I'm doing personally.
Before you get
is
too
he's
deep
working
into that,
in
Eric,
McEwen.
Before you
although
get-
he spells it a little.
hey Eric, before
Sure.
you get too deep into what you're saying, I want to hear what you're saying. But I think the wind keeps on chopping out your audio.
Oh, I will stand closer to the house and hopefully, does it sound any better now?
Yeah. Okay. There's not chopping out. So Edward
Sorry
McEwen.
So it's a guy named Ed McEwen, who I'm pronouncing all weirdly. He's got two books. One was Essentialism, and then, boy, there's a more recent one that's really cuts to more of the quick of it. But the Essentialism piece is just really about working on the right things. And I think there's a lot of, say, cross-referencing between what he's looking at and this deep work that this book describes. Because if you're not spending time on the deep work, are you making the most headway you possibly can on the most important things to yourself, not just now, but 3-5 years down the road. Now we got helicopters, so I'll mute.
I can't hear the helicopters. That's funny. Okay, so this book, Greg McEwen. Okay, there it is. Oh man, I've seen a number of different spellings so far.
I'll throw it
you-
into the chat in just a second.
Okay, great. Okay, I'm just finding this out. Okay, so this Essentialism. All right, so I've got Greg McEwen. And I'm gonna delete that, and now I'll just look up Greg McEwen. Practice makes progress. So look at that. He's got his own website. Cool. Cool. All right. So what books do we have? Simple Productivity: How to Accomplish More with Less. And that's a lot of what he was saying. It's in the book Deep Work, Cal was saying that he cut down the hours that he's working on things, and some other companies had done a similar thing, and they pointed out that it can get a lot more done then because you sort of value your time, and it's not so much time; it's value your focus more, and that's a big key here. Is what are you focusing on? And that's what brings me back again to my metric of like, what am I measuring, and what is the desired outcome that metric is supposed to be leading me to. It helps me to focus my time and really get more out of my time because I'm, again, honing in on what it is that I'm after. And so for my company, I'm really trying I thought this would be like obvious, right? But it's not as easy because I'm like, okay, so it's somehow impacting the world I'm in my family. So my business and family, obviously they're two different things, but they're also really connected in a lot of ways. So trying to figure out what that is. And this could all be me making excuses so that I don't actually have to come up with an answer, which apparently my brain type is often commonly wants to do. I focus a lot in the present. And so brain types that focus a lot on the present tend to minimize anything so that everything is pretty much the same importance. Okay, he gave me a link here, Essentialism and the effort. Oh, what is the point of diminishing return on focus, shallow or deep? And is whatever you're doing today a piece for tomorrow to point of effectiveness and maximizing this? Well, that's a deep question. I'm going to click to the book.
Deep question, Adam, that's a comment. There's a point of diminishing return to your focus, whether
thank
it's shallow or it's deep. Is the X time, 2 hours, 3 hours, you establish that for yourself and everybody's different. So it's a point of diminishing return. If somebody works 100 hours a week, how effective are they for real? They're not really being effective because your brains are no longer functioning at that point effectively or efficiently.
Yeah.
You're not getting your maximum output for that period of time because you're stretched. I mean, if I don't get enough sleep for 48 hours and I'm on call with a technology backup system, at some point, I'm no longer useful. What is that point of diminishing return as opposed to increasing return? You see what I'm saying? And everybody has a different definition of that. For me, if I don't get any sleep for 24 hours, I'm bouncing off the walls. I don't know what I'm going to answer, if I'm going to answer the right answer or the appropriate answer. You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
at some point, and I've been on call for 24 hours, 48 hours and no sleep doing disaster recovery. And
Yeah.
I can tell you, I sleep on the floor at that office. If we're doing that, I'll take a half-hour nap just to refresh my brain and to clear the cobwebs on my brain and to make it function again.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm non-functional. At some
first-
point, it's a diminishing return.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me switch back because that reminds me too. I want to get back to a comment you made earlier, Annie, about the chaos. Okay, so was I sharing my the web page just then?
What about the webpage? I'm sorry, say that again?
Did I just switch back from the web page? Was I showing you what I was searching for, or did you still have?
No, I didn't see it. I don't think.
Oh, darn! I thought I was sharing all that. Everyone's on the same page as me. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to this real quick. So here's the book. He mentioned Greg McKeown, Effortless. Make it easier to do what matters most. And this symbolism here is similar to some of the stuff I'm working with Joycelyn Campbell on. Not quite as, line art, but this is good for a book cover. You're teetering right on the edge of burnout. Okay. Do you
Right.
feel like you're
Mhm.
things? So Gwen, this sounds like this might be a great book for you because you're trying to decide what you're up to. So you're running faster, but not moving closer to your goals. Everything is so much harder than it used to be. All that good stuff. Okay, and there's a podcast. What do you know? I could even do listen in on that. I used to listen to podcasts all the time. I'm not sure what happened in my life that shifted to I'm not doing that anymore because I never had a commute to work. So it's not that. But I think it is that I'm just spending less time in work. Okay, that's cool. I like the podcast. I like podcasts because I like listening to things. In fact, deep work, I'm only listening to it. I listened to it fast one time through, and now I'm listening to it through. The Matthew McConaughey. That's great. Okay, so
is listening fast helpful? Does it help you? Because if I listen fast, I need to do it like 7 times before it sinks in.
well, I don't have a straightforward answer for you. I have a couple answers though. I listen to things fast because originally, especially for the first time, because I often get stuck in the middle of a book of like all this thought, and then I go into it and I create great things out of that, which is good. But then also having a big arc of seeing where they're going with their book is kind of helpful. So that's why I zoomed through it. Also because I wanted to have it read before today. And I don't have that much audiobook time. So getting through it, to me, it makes good sense, but it's to, get the deep nuggets. Again, it's back to the deep work. It's funny because I was basically listening to it on a sort of a shallow level because I'm going so fast and, doing other tasks at the same time. But that was to kind of get a big broad strokes so that when I come back, I can feel where I am in the book on his ideas and see how he's connecting them all. So I don't want to listen to the whole thing fast. And I really do, I think, get a lot out of books when I'm writing, just reading them, and then I make notes. But at this stage in my world, I haven't put a lot of time in for reading them. That's a good question, though. So that's his book. That's the book. You got to see that. This is deep work. This is Greg McKeown. Books. Effortless. Okay, so that's the one. Anyway, so I'm gonna put this on my little notes later on. I do take notes on what I'm listening to, unless it's just for fun listening. That's great. Everyone, do you take notes on the books you read? Oh, do you take notes on your books? Annie?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you take?
It helps me disseminate the information, and then I say, and then an idea may come from that, and I may say, I can use this over here, and I can integrate it in something else. So for me, it's about complex integration, with the holistic approach. That's just how my mind operates.
Yeah, and I'll say I didn't used to, but over the past couple of months, I've started to. I haven't got the system quite down. I've been wanting to kind of publish at least some or share some kind of lessons learned or top few points, kind of like what you're doing today here, Adam. But I'm not there yet. But
Yeah.
I think that there's some real value in taking some notes so that you can refer back to them, but also you can help others kind of explore those same topics.
Yeah. Like when I was taking notes on Cal Newport's book this time, there's a couple things because it's audio. There's a number of things I had to line up. One is I couldn't be driving because that's a great place that I often try and shove it in. Whether that's wise or not, I'm not gonna say that it's the wisest, but it's what I do. And so like if I'm hanging laundry, which is a habitual job, which I don't really have to use bridge of my brain for, I can be doing that and actually doing it. I figure it's kind of like doodling when you're listening to a lecture, that even if you doodle during a lecture, you remember it better. But the stopping when I like come up with like the connection I made with his talking and my business and my communication with my wife and how that connects to Patrick Lencioni, I wrote that down on my phone. In the device, well, not on the, I made a note. I made a bookmark in the Audible so I could come back to it. I made a short note on there so when I went through, I could like see my short little note. And then I'm also collecting information. And since it had to do with a conversation that I want to have with my wife, I put it on Todoist and kind of put an outline of things. And then on that same Todoist note, I put a note underneath it. It's like, add this note to my vlog topics so that I could later on share it actually as a topic and talk about it, which I'm doing now. But all those things combining together, because I'm hoping with my website to have like a podcast, not a podcast, sort of a vlog that I'm doing as I'm organizing this space in here. So those are all piled on top of each other. But yeah, that when you talk about keep bringing it back in a way that you can share it, that's really key. It also helps us to actually remember the things and apply them as we're talking about them. Of course, talking about them is not the same as doing them. That's a key thing. Real quick, talking about this, Annie, on this note here, and it's actually time to move on, but I want to say a comment. The chaos is helpful. We assimilate all of it. I think you might be talking about a different chaos than he's talking about, unless you are not talking about deep work as he is. So the chaos he's talking about is the interruptions. And you can take all that information, all that stuff, you can even take notes as we're talking about, and put it into a space, but then take yourself away from anyone else who would do that. And that's what the deep work would be. From my understanding of what he's saying and what you're saying, is that then the simulation would be what you get to do when you have time to do the deep work. You bring all your notes together, all the minutia of all that stuff, and you start to really kind of tie it together. And then you come back, and of course you can get input, and depending on what your particular job or your goal is, the amount of chaos, the interruptions you want outside of the deep work time may be greater or lesser. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. But deep work is not often a singularity. Deep work can involve multiple levels of deepness.
He actually talks about a building architecturally built to kind of think about the different levels too. Like your first room is
building on your previous, right? Your previous focus to the next focus, to the next focus. Because
that's an interesting thought.
Yeah. That's really
what he's talking about is that what the building is the first room is like displaying all the great things that are being created, right, from the deep work. And then the next room is getting a little more into like all the data and all the collection of thoughts and ideas and everything that came from the deep work. So like the database, the archives. And the next room you walk into would then be, I'm skipping one, I think there's 5 rooms, but I'm just going to skip to the next one, which is the shallow workspace, the one that makes all the connections. And then the room after that is then the deep work room. where nobody disturbs you in that room unless you come out. So you can do that. And so that's another way of thinking about architecturally to kind of get an idea of sort of what he's talking about too. I really enjoy the first room where all this outpouring is there. That's what I want to do with my business, is make it so people can show the outpouring they have, but then also have that back room where they can create, and I'm talking metaphorically, the back room where you can create and have your deep work. So your 10-second wants. What is something we can help you with? I can see this in doing the deep work with groups, organizations. Also reminds me of the Seek, Sense, Share model from Harold Garsh. Oh, great. Another one. This is good stuff. I'm excited about it. So that was Eric's note on chat, but I'm going to come back to this. We have about 5 minutes now for 10-second ask. This is something that you can do, or that we can do, anyone in the group can do for you in 10 seconds that helps you on your quest. And I didn't talk about quest earlier because we sort of grazed over it, but the idea is your brain's trying to answer something. The reason you started your business is related to that somehow, or by accident, you've gone a different direction. But usually you're doing things because you're trying to answer something in your brain, and that's your quest for your whole life. And it's never going to fully get answered. But what's something we could do in 10 seconds to help you on your quest? For me, the 10 seconds that you take answering this is helping me.
Oh, you're so meta. I will jump in. I will say one of my quests is for Global Entrepreneurship Week or some other like community activity. I'd love to have some kind of clinic that enables entrepreneurs to have a conversation like this, but really sort of quick hits, like with folks like you, Adam.
Yeah.
Annie, I'm thinking of Miriam, but also people in accounting. So I'm looking for help in designing and execution of a clinic to help entrepreneurs move their ideas and businesses forward.
Great, that sounds cool. So you want us to think about that for 10 seconds?
Yes, and shoot, if you have any thoughts.
Or just tell you if I think I think that sounds cool. That's exciting to me. I love collaboration. And that's what I'm doing. And doing a workshop like that would be really neat, especially to do with you and like Miriam and the folks. So yeah, that's a great conversation to go with. Gwen, do you have anything? I know Annie does. Annie, you're usually ready with something.
I posted mine up there. I need a couple of things that I'm really focusing on, which is why I need to talk to Eric later. So Eric, I'll text you when you have time.
Sure.
We can reconnect.
All right. So yours was my quest: company marketing messages for different audiences, platform and CPA tax. It's Addie Grant Specialist.
Attorney grant specialist. Those are the two things I need help on at the moment.
Oh, so if we know any of those folks,
Right.
with grant specialists. Now you were reaching out to someone that often came on this before.
Lisa,
Did she get?
right?
Yeah. Did she
It's
get back to you?
It's not in her wheelhouse, but she will put it out there in her network, in her professional network.
Okay,
Right?
good.
So it's not in her wheelhouse. It's a little bit more than what she can handle. Because what
Now
I really need is more specific.
So what I usually do with this is I see these things, I see all these stuff, and my first response is, oh, I don't know these people. I don't know anything like that. And then the next thing is I actually start to think about it for a while. And like, actually, maybe this person. And so that's probably where I'm taking this.
Right.
Oh, and Eric gave you his phone number right there. So.
Right. I have it. I have your number, Eric. Thank you.
Great. All right. So Gwen, if you want to go off mute and chime in, you can do that.
I need to know the well, I'm working in the sustainable industry, and I want to know what the opportunities are. So I think, well, I tried LinkedIn, but I think I also need to contact like angel investors, aside from the crowdfunding platforms.
Can I make a suggestion, Gwen?
Go ahead.
Before you contact any angel investor or any of those outfits, narrow down what you're trying to do. Because right now you're still at the very broad level, right? And not to say that that can't change, it absolutely will change. I can tell you that. Speaking from experience, because I started it broad until you can somewhat narrow down, then this way you've got to the point of focus, to Adam's point of, right, this session, right? I mean, you're still basically in a forming chaotic mode. Not to say that that's wrong. It's absolutely not wrong. That's where you need to be for the time being in this journey. You need to define and narrow it down a little bit more, or your objective, or what's your strategy. Start with the end in mind. This is what a mentor of mine always said to me. If you've got a vision on something, start at the end of that, not at the beginning, and then work your way backwards. If that helps. Okay, because otherwise, if you go to New Mexico Angels and all the community resources, they're going to ask you the same question, because I was asked the very same questions. You need to focus on what you're trying to do. What is your objective? And until you can answer that, you're just all over the map. Does that help?
It does. It's good to narrow down to some industries, such as housing or
Right. And quite frankly, you may want to kind of, stay in touch with me, because I'm in that space, eco-conscious real estate community development. I'm working on all things eco-conscious.
And that's maybe you have contact information you could talk with that about again too. So you guys can contact each other. I'm gonna wrap it up here because the hour is done. And thank you, Gwen, Eric, and Annie for joining us. Next time is going to be desired outcomes versus to-do lists. And also, Gwen, a good one for you is be 1 million cups. It's on the same meetup page. In fact, they're hosting me basically. Thanks, Eric. And that is all that stuff. Thank you guys for coming today. I just clicked on it. Okay, shares. Okay, just checking if I actually moved on to the share. And keep the sparks flowing.
All right. Thanks, Adam. Thanks, Gwen. Thanks, Eric. I'll reach out to you.
Thanks, Adam. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.